Welcome to Empower Her Radio, the podcast for healthcare moms who want to break free from limiting beliefs, build unshakable confidence, and step into the truest expression of themselves, both personally and professionally. I'm your host, Corey Wynn. I'm a wife, a mom, a doctor of physical therapy, and a peak performance strategist. Working with highly motivated women to transform their lives and inspire those around them is what truly lights my soul on fire. Each episode, whether it's a solo session filled with actionable strategies or an inspiring interview with a woman who has overcome significant obstacles, is designed to leave you feeling worthy and confident in the value you have to offer everyone around you. I hope you walk away empowered and ready to take that next step to lead your life on purpose. Now, let's dive into today's show. Hey guys, I wanted to pop in real quick with a special offer today. Everything that I do here at Empower Her Radio and in my private coaching practice, Elevate and Empower, is to empower and equip women, specifically moms, with everything that they could possibly need to live their dream life. So I want to give you my dream life blueprint today that can help you get started with that. Just head to corywynn.com/dreamlifeblueprint and you can find that in the show notes. All right, now back to today's show. All right. I am so excited to have our guest today. For one, to talk all things money and abundance. I think both of us have come to really love money, but maybe came from a space that was wrong, or it didn't feel good, or we felt guilty because we did. But I just want to introduce Elyse Archer. She's the founder of Superhuman Selling and She Sells Movements, which empower entrepreneurs and sales professionals to revolutionize how they sell, explode their income, and achieve quantum leaps in all areas of life. A Salesforce top influencer and a thought leader whose insights have been featured in major media, including Forbes and Inc., Elyse is passionate about empowering her clients to sell in a way that leverages their natural gifts and helps them build wealth along the way. She is an international keynote speaker and a host of She Sells Radio, where she shares best practices from female entrepreneurs and sales professionals who have accomplished extraordinary goals. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Corey. This is so fun. I love getting to have this conversation with you.
It has been so important in my life. I know that working with you has been one of the best things that I've done for myself, investing in myself, and just hearing how you talk about moving through life and working through the things that you've worked through. It really resonates with so many women in my sphere and so many moms. So can you just give us a little bit of background on where you started, where you came from, and how you came to be?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, can I share the fun fact that we went to school together way back in the day? And which I find so fun. But yeah, after that, after that happened, I think I went down a path with my life that probably many of your listeners can relate to, which was doing all the things I thought I was supposed to do to be happy and successful. So I actually went to school for journalism. I always loved writing, communicating. And I have a vivid, this will actually date me a bit because I went to school and I thought I was going to be a newspaper reporter. And I have a vivid memory of sitting in my news ed class and the professor shared how much you would make as a newspaper reporter. And I was probably maybe a sophomore in school then, like even then, I remember hearing the number and thinking, that really doesn't sound like a lot. Like, I don't know if that's gonna cut it for what I know I like. So I went into sales and I climbed the ladder in corporate sales, and I found myself in my late 20s having, again, kind of like built that life that I thought was going to check all the boxes for success and happiness and fulfillment. I was top of the leaderboard almost all the time at work. I had a nice house. I had a nice car. But what I wasn't sharing with anyone was how much I was struggling inside, and that the image I was presenting on the outside was completely different from how I was feeling on the inside. I was struggling secretly with anxiety. I was even having panic attacks. I was in a marriage that was really unhealthy in a lot of ways. And it was what I know now is we were a perfect match for each other. We were a vibrational match for each other at that level in my consciousness. But there was just a lot of stuff that wasn't good to that relationship, although it taught me a lot. But I was having panic attacks about that. I had an eating disorder. And I remember just kind of looking around at my life, and it was right before I turned 28. 28's always been a special number for me. I was born on the 28th. I see 28s everywhere. They're just, it's like my spirit sign where that number is important to me. And right before my 28th birthday, I looked around and I was so scared of making big changes. I don't know if I'm sure your listeners can
Mhm,
relate to this, right? When we've
mhm,
built up this life and it feels like there's so much depending on it, and we've got maybe I didn't have kids at the time, but maybe there's kids, there's, a perception that you're portraying to the outer world, there's your reputation, what people expect of you. And I remember thinking, I am so miserable in this life that I've built, but I was petrified to make a change. I was so scared of the judgment that I thought I would face of what would it be like to get a divorce in your 20s when you haven't been married that long. I was scared. I knew I wanted to leave the corporate job and go out and start coaching people. I
mhm.
had one client who had paid me $300 to review a presentation for him. And that was it. I mean, to me, I think I've always been like higher tolerance risk wise. I was like, it's proof of concept. I can make money outside of corporate. Let's go. I was still, I was used to making
Where the rest of us would be holding on for dear life going, "Ooh, this is a
it
big
was
jump."
honestly, I mean, I laugh about it now because I mean, my rates, like your client, so it's a big difference. But it was some of the best money I ever made because it was money I made myself, not through my corporate job. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, someone like I can make money outside of corporate. This is crazy. And God bless the person who paid me to review his presentation for him. And I think I hopefully did a good job. But there was still so much fear on the other side of that, of making all of those changes. But I just remember saying, I don't want to go into this 128th year of my life, um, living out this same, it felt like handcuffs, like this same reality that I've
Mhm,
been living years previously. And there's this beautiful quote by, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, but it's Anais Nin, where it says, the day came where the risk it took to remain tight in the bud was greater than the risk it took to blossom.
mhm.
And I just remember thinking, it can't be worse than where I am right now. Right. So let me go for it. And I unraveled my life in a short amount of time. I quit the job. I got a divorce. I started my own company. I changed my friend circle. I've been, friends with a lot. And like to this day, I'm still in friends with something and I love them dearly. But my circle at that time was a lot about like going out and partying and all of that. And I changed that. I was like, I'm not interested in that anymore. And I went down this path of dramatic transformation. And it's been, 10 years since that happened. So I'm happy to speak to any and all of that might be of service to your listeners, because we've since built, a really successful coaching company. And I feel I'm remarried to a man who's my soulmate. We've got two beautiful little boys. We're on a crazy journey as he goes to medical school now, and I support him in that pursuit. There's been a lot of growth in the past decade, and I've had some kind of wild experiences around like money and wealth consciousness, which I think we want to talk about today too. But you tell me, do you want me to go deeper into any of that, or do you want me to keep going? What's most of service?
I just think that it's so great that you validated how scared you were because when I think of the women that I went to PT school with and the men as well, but so many of us as moms and having grown up in the South, I mean, we talked about a minute ago that we went to school together. We were expected to stay in this lane, almost like a horse with blinders on. And you spoke just a second ago about the fear of what would people think. And I
Mm,
think so many of us are paralyzed by, well, I'm supposed to stay in this lane. I went to this school for this degree. This is what I should be doing, but I'm not fulfilled. And I think recently you mentioned the book Untamed by Glennon Doyle,
Mm.
and she, like, I think it's on the first page, or it may have even been in the front cover. She says, "Wasn't it all supposed to be more beautiful than this?"
Ooh,
And
yeah.
that encompasses so much of what I hear the women who I work with say. They almost wake up one morning and think, okay, I've checked all the boxes. And they look around and they're like, this is it? So
Yes.
can you
Yes.
speak more to how you overcame that fear of kind of what you were supposed to do
Yeah.
and what really catapulted you to move forward?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and there's been multiple moments in my life. I think for many of it, we grow up with a knowing, right? We grow up with a strong inner sense of this is who I am, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. And then we learn over time to subdue that and to look to others to tell us what's okay, what's not okay, what do we like, what do we not like. And it's a natural part of growing up. I think virtually everyone can probably relate to this. But what happens is along that way, we lose ourselves. And if we don't find a way later as adults to remember how to look back inside for our own inner guidance, we end up drifting and living a life that's, what we think we're supposed to be doing that will please other people rather than what we really care about. And so a lot of the big pivot points and turning points in my life have been where I looked at something that was out of alignment and I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I like that? The whole story I shared with you about making that big change in my late 20s. Um, that was one of the first times in a long time that I had looked inside and listened to my own inner knowing and had honored that despite what I thought everyone else would say or think or do. Um, and I'll tell you another book that for me created another quantum leap moment was Bronnie Ware, Top Five Regrets of the Dying. Have you read that one? You probably knew I was
I
going to
have
talk
it on my nightstand. I'm finishing Untamed right now.
about it. Yeah. Well, so for anyone who's not familiar with the book, Ronnie was a hospice care worker and she sat with people on their deathbed. And what she shared was that people would talk about their life and they would also talk about their regrets. And sitting with so many people on their deathbeds, she said there were five most common regrets that they shared about their life. And the number one regret that people say is, I wish I had had the courage to live a life that was true to me rather than what everyone else expected of me. And that one piece, I had a dramatic transformation in my life about 4 years ago after reading that, and I decided to make some big changes and, like, really go all in on following my dreams, which I'm happy to speak to if you like. But what I realized when I read that is there was this part of me that in so many areas of life was like looking outside for permission or validation and I don't even know who this person is that I was waiting to come tell me like it's time, you can do it, you're good enough. It's some not even a real person, right? But energetically I had been giving my power away to someone else to come say, "You're good enough, you can do it," etcetera. And so we wrote a book about it,
Mhm.
some of me and some of my clients a couple of years ago called Permission to Be Powerful. Well, we wrote it a few years ago. It came out this January, and I know that's how you and I reconnected, because it was reading Bronnie Ware, Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, and just having this awareness of why are we living our lives for other people? Like, you're the only one who has to live your life every single day. So, when we can be brave enough, and I'm not saying it's not scary because it may require you to make some big changes. When you're brave enough to look inside and think about what do I really want for my life? One of my dear friends and colleagues, John Rulin, just passed away unexpectedly a couple of weeks ago. He's a little older than me, an amazing human being, left behind a wife and kids, and just collapsed on vacation and didn't get up. And it's like when I heard that, it was just such a powerful reminder of no one knows how long we have, right? Not to make this like super, I'm Scorpio,
No,
so I'll
but
make it
it's
really intense
true.
really
It's
fast for your
true.
listeners, but like we don't know. So I
Mhm.
think when we can have that perspective, we can say, I don't actually know how much longer I have. And would I be really happy if I look back at how I had lived my life and how like the choices I made? Would I be really happy if next week was the last week I had, right? Or would I change some things? If so, I'm the only one who can give myself permission to do that. So it takes courage, it takes bravery, but you've heard me say this, Corey, and I'll say it for your listeners too. Your desires are green lights. You've got to follow that knowing, you've got to follow that nudge. And there's beautiful gifts that come in how you transform in that process as well. But I'll pause because I could talk about this for the whole rest of the time. And I know you want to talk about
No, but
others.
it's so funny because you spoke to your book, Permission to be Powerful. And I remember reading that part of your story in there and having my own aha moment going, she's right. Nobody else is going to give me a permission to
Yeah.
live my epic life. What am I waiting for?
Yeah. And such a wake up moment. And you've embodied it. I mean, I think that's the power of what you're doing and your platform. And for your listeners who are following you, like you're doing it, you're living it. There's a lot of people who talk about it. There's
Mhm.
way fewer people who actually do it. Right. So that's the power of you speaking about this and speaking life over everyone who's listening and who's following you and working with you is you're living it. And
Mhm.
that's a different story. So I just want to take a moment and acknowledge
Well,
that.
and you say so often too, maybe not in these exact words, but like if your dreams are not equally as exciting as they are terrifying, then you're not moving in the right direction. And
Mm.
that's where I have that moment every so often of like, this is so scary. And then I go, all right, well, then we have to forge forward this way because this must
Yes.
be the way that we're supposed to go.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. I love it. There's the beautiful Joseph Campbell quote, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. And this is so true. When we commit to having a life that is, to me, the thing that I seek for now is what is the fullest expression of me in all areas? Because I think we're all unique, right? And the fullest expression of Corey is different from the fullest expression of Elyse, et cetera. But my job is what is the fullest expression of me in this lifetime?
Mhm.
And the more I allow that to unfold, I was going to say pursue it, but it's not really a pursuit. It's more a remembering and then allowing it to unfold, you're going to bump up against resistance. You'll bump up against discomfort. You'll bump up again. I was doing some work on some of my own stuff this weekend, and it was like physical bodily reactions with some of the things that just the stuff I'm releasing from old ways of being, but it's powerful. And I love what you said about, man, if it feels scary, I got to go for it because that's the actual gift. That's it. It's so good. Yeah, it's so good.
I know you've spent so much of your work on wealth consciousness and abundance. I know a lot of my listeners are probably like, I don't even know what wealth consciousness is. What is she talking about? So, when you think about money and abundance, where would you start with somebody who doesn't even know where to go? Feels like they're in that lane and there's no more ways to make money, there's no abundance out there. I think so many of us started in that space of like, that is really woo, and I am not open to that level of
Mhm.
thought processes yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. It's part of, you know, this as a client and someone who's becoming a consultant. We teach money as the second quadrant of quantum sales growth,
Mhm.
um, because it's such a powerful transformation. And I struggled with limiting money beliefs for so long. You know,
Mhm.
didn't grow up poor, certainly grew up actually upper middle class, but there was so much fear around money in our household. There was tightness, there was constriction, there was penny pinching, there was a lot of weird energy around money. And what I really believe is like each generation is here to advance the thinking of the last. So I really honor and acknowledge my parents for everything they did to grow and evolve their consciousness from the generation before. I'm doing my work now. My kids will do their work and will probably be, hopefully beyond me in terms of thinking here. So this isn't to make anyone's parents wrong, but that was the energy in our home. And so as I came into adulthood and was, managing my money and in sales, wanting to make money, I always struggled with fear around money. Even, no matter what was in the bank, I would be afraid it was all going to leave. This certainly impacted like sales calls and business conversations where I'd be afraid to ask for the money. So much stuff. And also, grew up with very bright, analytical, Ivy League parents where it's like everything is left brain. So if you try to talk about the energy of money, I would have been like, what? But here's what I'll say, Corey, is when I started learning about it and following other amazing, mainly female mentors, not all, but mainly female mentors who talked about money in such a different way than I'd ever heard and had a very abundant seeming lifestyle. I perked up. I was like, okay, you're telling me there is another way that's not about restriction and lack and scarcity. And in fact, if I'm trying to restrict or hoard, that I'm actually blocking money. So the whole world opened up when I started learning this, and it changed my life so dramatically. But what I'll say is, for somebody listening who's like, I don't even know where to start, but I'm guessing if their ears are also perking up in this part of the conversation, they want a different experience of money, right? They want maybe to feel more free at the grocery store. They want to be able to, you know, fly first class instead of coach when they travel. They want to be able to buy like the nice vacation for their family or get their kids in better school. I don't know, upgrade the wardrobe, right? A lot of different things that we can desire. So you have a desire for more. The first thing I want to say is money itself is not the vision. Money is the how of your vision. So the exercise that I have clients, and this is where like we can get money, we can get weird energy around money if we think, having a million, a couple million, whatever in the bank is my end life goal.
Mhm.
Uh, that sitting there on its own isn't going to do anything. It's how does it serve your vision? So what I would do is I would, you know, pause the podcast and do this exercise now or do it afterwards, but say, I'm living on an island. No one is ever going to know what I do with my life. What do I care about? How do I want my life to be? Now, you can bring in the people you love onto that island and you want to have a nice house for all the people. That's fine. But this is going to help you get into the truth of who you are and what you care about and what matters to you for your life and your lifestyle and your impact. And sometimes people do this exercise and realize, holy crap, I don't actually need as much as I thought I did. Because for me, my most fulfilling life is I want to go travel and, work on the beach in Portugal, and the exchange rate is really good there. And I want to live a laptop lifestyle and do that. Like that would be a dream. Beautiful. Other people do that and they're like, holy crap, I need a lot more than I'm bringing in right now to be able to live that life. Either is fine, but we want to get clear on, again, going back to what we talked about before, that fullest expression of you, right? Who is that fullest expression of you? Who did you come here on the planet to be? And for everyone, it's going to be different. And what I've learned is not to judge it.
Mhm.
Like I know now I came here on this planet to be a wealthy AF woman. And I
Yes.
used to judge it and I used to question it. And I would, because there was judgment about that. Right. And so I questioned myself. I was like, is that
Mhm.
okay? I
Right.
know that for whatever reasons, Elyse in this lifetime came here to do that, along with a lot of other work. So I now accept and embrace that identity. I don't resist it. Right. And there may be people who do the exercise. And again, you realize your version of freedom and wealth and abundance is different. And it's more about time freedom or, again, a simple lifestyle. It's beautiful. I don't care what it is. What's true for you? Then from there, we can reverse engineer. All right, well, how much money would be required to bring that in? Right. So I just want to lay that foundation first, because if we don't have money in the right place in our life, and if we're making it God, and you're making it God if you let it dictate what you do or don't do, by the way. If we're making it God, we're just putting it in the wrong place. It's designed to serve your vision, not be the vision itself.
Mhm.
And then from there, we remember that money is actually limitless. Money is being printed all the time. Money is everywhere. Wealth consciousness is about what is your mindset attuned to, and are you paying attention to receiving and being open and inflow and circulation, or are you paying attention to bills and debt and lack? Because whatever you focus on and the energy that you focus on it with, you're going to get more of that experience. This is quantum physics. So we gotta open up to money is infinite. It's all relative,
Mhm.
right? I worked with a client, I shared this with you at our July event, but I worked with a client recently who is a billionaire and in a $50 million home. And it's like, he's no different, right? I mean, he's made different choices. He's got a different level of consciousness than a lot of people, but he's a human being living and walking this planet just like you and I are. So
Mhm.
what's different? It's his thinking. He didn't come from that. It's his thinking. So if he can do it, there's nothing different between him and you, right?
Mhm.
So I think just opening up to that. And then if you decide that you want to create more inflow, create a different experience of money, yeah, it's going to require different actions. It may require that you quit your job. It may require that you start something else. It like there's when you're working a W-2, there are parameters to how much you can make based on your
Right.
role, right? So I
Right.
think you got to decide, what do I really care about, right? And do I really care about creating unlimited income? If so, I'm probably going to need to go become an entrepreneur of some sort. If I don't, there's ways that you can feel abundant with what you have now, and that's all perspective. But I think we have to make that choice and know for ourselves what's going to be most aligned. Tell me where you want to go with that, because I could keep going, but I want to
No,
like.
I mean, it just opens up so many different things because I do think that initially, if you're focusing on debt and scarcity, that's where that energy comes.
Mm,
So many of my old peers, I mean, if you think a lot of people in healthcare have student loan debt and they have a finite amount of salary raise each year because reimbursement, insurance, whatever. And just being able to sit in that discomfort for a minute, because I think so many people, and I was one of them, would at first go, oh, that's not even possible. Like immediately shut down. I can't do that. But just being able to sit in that discomfort for a second and be open that there's potentially another way. And then the exercise that you just had everybody do is then, well, am I living my dream life? Is
mm.
this really where I want to be? Okay, no, which is also very scary sometimes. It's like, oh my gosh.
Exciting, right? We can rephrase it, right? It's exciting.
Right.
I don't want to, not acknowledge the fear of the show, but it's all the language we use around it, right? So
Right.
man, if I'm not, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Feeling
Yeah.
some fear, but let me rephrase that. This is exciting. What an opportunity,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. An opportunity to make a change that you're not at the point of being on hospice with Bronnie Ware going, I wish I had.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And what I'll say too is it all starts with your consciousness. It's all consciousness first. So I want to say first and foremost, debt is beautiful. Debt is someone trusted you enough to say, here's money for you to go do what you want to do. Right. So am I saying that we don't want to pay off debt? Like, no, I think it's also a beautiful thing to pay it off. But if you study like ultra high net worth individuals, they leverage debt all the time to get what they want. So it's a shift in consciousness. And this is something that I want to just impress upon the listeners too, for anyone who's listening, of like, if you're feeling, it's all of the feeling you have with it. Like you went to school, you got student loans, or you've got this type of debt or whatever,
Mhm.
and if you're feeling burdened by it, if you're feeling constricted by it, it's going to take so much longer to pay off because the energy behind it is burden, constriction, lack of freedom, right? So what I would do is I would shift the mindset to one of gratitude. Wow, thank you so, like, look, somebody who maybe didn't even know me said, "Yeah, I'll send you a couple 100 grand to go do this, or I'll loan you however much on the credit card, 20 grand, 50 grand, whatever." Right? Thank you.
Mhm.
And when we get in that energy, we actually release resistance to what is, and then we open up to more creative ideas. We also open up energetically to more circulation and flow of money in our lives, and we let things flow. So I just wanted to pause on that because I know a lot of your listeners may have come from healthcare background or have, leveraged loans for what they're doing. Like, beautiful. It's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. Thank you. So I want to just like level set that
Mhm.
little bit there. But one thing I'll say too, because I was going to speak to the change in consciousness, even after I made those big changes in my life in my late 20s, I still spent 10 years as an entrepreneur, never breaking past low six figures. Well, I would say it started in maybe my mid 20s, this kind of 10-year cycle. So I was working in corporate first, then as an entrepreneur, but still unlimited earnings potential, couldn't break past low six figures and struggled with
Mhm.
fear, anxiety, feelings of restriction, the you talked about around money, all of it, all the time. I went through a transformational process with wealth consciousness and money mindset. I 10x'd my income in 6 weeks after having been stuck for over a decade. What I will say though is that that outer shift, that quantum leap, the turning my annual income into my monthly income, it happened after I shifted my mindset around the money, after I learned how to feel abundant with what I had, after I shifted my self-concept, my wealth consciousness, the outer is always just going to mirror the inner. So no matter where you are right now, you got to find a way to feel abundant now, to tap into flow and circulation now, to tap into gratitude now. And then from there, you'll notice that your outer will shift. You'll start experiencing more flow. You'll start having money come in, maybe unexpected ways. You'll get an idea for a business, right? But it's all an inner game. It's all an inner game. Yeah.
Oh, so good. So good. I had a thought a second ago and now I don't know what it was, which is not surprising, but that's okay. Um, I think so many of us too, if you're listening to this podcast, there's a little part of you that is a little bit more open. And I've laughed for years because if you're in the therapy world, physical therapists tend to be more logical thinkers, linear, if it's not this, then it's this. If it's not this, then it's this. And occupational therapists seem to have this great creative view of things. So working together has been super helpful for me. And what I thought of a second ago was more having grown up with SMART goals. You've talked
Oh,
about SMART goals in corporate. We
yep,
have them in therapy as well.
yep.
And going linearly, but then bumping up against this in space all the time was kind of my aha moment of I have had this thought process my whole life. I have been doing it this way my whole life. What do I have to lose to be
Mm,
open to thinking about it a different way? And that's a lot of what I want to get across to our audience today too is this may sound completely foreign. It may feel so out of your comfort zone, but what do you have to lose? That's
yep.
where I was. I
Yes.
have been pushing and hustling for years. I have nothing to lose.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to think for yourself
Mhm.
and you have to start this is real freedom. You want to talk real freedom and liberation. Question everything that you've ever accepted as true
Mhm.
and ask yourself, is that the only truth? Is
Mhm.
that my truth? What do I actually believe? You'll start, I mean, you'll start getting clear on a lot of things you've bought into that you don't actually believe in,
Yeah.
you know? It's it's very empowering, and most people don't stop to think for themselves or question anything
Yeah.
because we were taught not to. But start questioning everything and think for yourself, and you will find there's a lot of paradigms you've bought into that are not actually true or not true for you. This is also that there's some things like universal truths, law of gravity, we all play by it. There's a lot of other stuff that aren't universal truths, lack, scarcity, 401ks. Sorry for all my retirement planners listening. I don't want to retire, you
Yeah.
know? It's like there's not that there's anything wrong with saving. I love that, but think for yourself. What is your truth, right? And then things start opening up and shifting. It's really, really fun.
Well, and as women, you've talked a lot about this and I have as well. We give our power away to either
Mm,
what our parents believed in or our spouse or our peers. And until we surround ourselves with other women, and we need strong, powerful women in our lives who help you question those things,
yeah.
you won't recognize it. And
Mm,
that's that level of being able to start to trust yourself and be able to look in your own intuition and look more inward without looking around and going, oh, well, that couldn't possibly, I couldn't do that. Why
yeah,
not? Why the
I know.
hell not?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, but what if you did? What if you
Yeah.
could? It
Well,
gets
I
really,
know we just have a few more minutes. I wanted to ask if there's anything else you wanted to make sure that you touched on, any other advice you wanted to give, and also make sure that people know how to get in touch with you and follow you.
yeah. Yeah, I would say the core message, you actually just said it, which is so beautiful. I love like when you're in flow with someone, how things just they come out in the perfect time. So the core message of what we want to communicate through She Sells is to trust yourself. It is to trust yourself. Trust your desire for more. Trust how you feel called to do things. And not just in the business world, although we play a lot there, right, with what we do in our brand, but in life in general. Trust that inner knowing. So often we've cut ourselves off from it. And when we can learn to listen again and honor that and follow that, your life will align in the most beautiful way, and you'll be amazed at how all those things that felt so scary for you to do, you look back and you realize that they were the things knitting the whole fabric of your life together of what it was actually meant to be.
Mhm.
So it's so beautiful, but you must trust inside and look inside above and beyond everything and everyone else. Um, to connect further, we actually have a special training for your listeners. So
Oh,
ElyseArcher.com/Corey Wynn. If you go there, you can download. We have a free training on the 4 quadrants of quantum sales growth. And it's a
awesome.
deep dive into a lot more of what we talked about today. So ElyseArcher.com/Corey Wynn. And people can get that as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you for being on today. I know that there are so many women out there who are just horses with blinders on right now. We're staying in our lane and we're going, there's got to be more. So,
Mm,
helping them break through that and trust themselves to take that leap is always the first step.
absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. If this episode resonated with you, I would truly appreciate a 5-star review. Your feedback is so important to me. Additionally, if today's topics have sparked a desire for more in your life and you're unsure about the next step, I have a special offer for you. I'm offering a free call to explore how my high level coaching and strategizing can help you gain clarity on your goals, prioritize what is most important to you, and refocus on yourself in the process. Simply head over to coreywynn.com/free call. That's www.coreywynnn.com/free call. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.